Greetings, adventurers! It's me, Chris, and I'm going to show you our brand new item designer to help you with Apothecary and Enchanting. Now, you may have noticed on the wiki that the rules for Apothecary and Enchanting are quite involved, so we made this tool to make it a little easier to visualize and also plan out your builds ahead of time. So of course, this is entirely based on what your character can do with the XP that they've spent. So for example, my character has Apothecary, and I've spent some XP allowing myself to make consumables. Now when we choose a base item, you'll immediately see that we have calls, skill proficiencies, and roleplay effects that we can add to this consumable. And at the bottom here, that's very important, you'll notice that the consumable is of the water sphere, which is important to note when we start picking an ability. So let's pick one. Now I know I spent XP allowing my character to do heal wounds on a consumable, and you'll notice that this one is also water-based because it's colored blue up here, and down here it also says it costs 3 water. So let's add this and see what happens. Okay, straight away you'll notice that the effect is added underneath our consumable and it's connected with this nice purple line. Now this is the reagent cost to bind these two together, and it costs us 1 spirit. Let's see what happens when we add a call that isn't water. Now I've added Crush underneath here, and you'll notice that between Heal Wounds and Crush, this line is now dashed, which suggests they're unaligned, and the spirit cost, or our reagent cost, is going to cost 1 extra. We've got some useful buttons here on our effects. We can move these up and down as we see appropriate. We can also click and drag and move our effects around and see what happens. For example, if we were to move Crush to the top, now between our base item and our first effect, these are also unaligned, so this is costing us 2 spirit instead of 1. And we can see at the bottom here what our entire cost will be. So for example, right now we've got 4 flickers for earth, 3 for water, and 5 for spirit. Let's see if we can make this a little cheaper by clicking the Optimize button. So the Optimize button will put effects of the same alignment together to make it as cheap as possible. So now our spirit cost has gone down. Okay, say we don't want Crush, we can just close that off. And also if we know we're going to add more items, we can collapse this down to make it a bit easier to read. So let's add something else, maybe a skill proficiency. Now for my consumable, I would like someone to gain a +1 in focus. So thankfully, once again, this is a water-based skill, so let's add that. And then this one also has a nice solid line between the two. But I don't just want to add 1 focus, I want to add multiple. So we have this button over here that will duplicate the effect. Okay, so we have 3 extra focus as well as heal wounds on this consumable. You'll notice that the reagent cost in between, as we add more and more effects, goes up by 1 each time. And if these were unaligned, they cost even more. So that's something to bear in mind. Alright, say we don't want to make a consumable and we would like to enchant something. So let's click here. It's going to give us a warning to make sure that we want to clear this off before we start again. Let's click OK. And let's choose something else. I would like to enchant a one-handed weapon. Now this is of type air. So again, that's something useful to bear in mind while we begin. This time I would like to add, let's say, Stagger. I know Stagger is air-based. It's going to cost me 3 air and requires 1 vigor to make this call. So let's add that. Again, while I'm showcasing this, you also need to remember that your character needs to have spent XP being able to apply something like Stagger to a one-handed weapon. Okay, so far this one-handed weapon allows the wielder to call Stagger, so long as they have 2 vigor to spend. So let's be nice and add Vigor Fuel twice to this item so that they can power Stagger with just the item itself. Okay, of course, these two are fire aligned, so between Stagger and Vigor, this is costing us a little bit more, but I think it's probably worth it so that the wielder can actually use Stagger without costing anything. Alright, say I'm really happy with this, but I would like my friend to have a look at it and see what they think. What we can do now is click the Export Configuration button. And what that does is simply add a string that you can copy and paste and show your friend. We've made this piece of text readable so you can see it's an enchanted one-handed weapon with Stagger and then 2 Vigor Fuels added onto it as well. And the little hyphens in between denote whether they're aligned or unaligned. So 2 lines mean it's unaligned, whereas 1 line between the 2 Fire Vigor Fuels means it's aligned. Alright, let's clear this off. And let's assume we're the friend that's received this and we've pasted it in here. All we need to do is click import and we'll see exactly what they created. So this is a handy way to share things with your friends or maybe on our official Discord. You also have a useful collapse all, expand all button here to make things easier. And of course, this works on mobile as well. And another useful thing to note is if you load this up and then go offline, say you're in the middle of a field with very limited internet, this will remain loaded and will continue to function. Of course, you can always head over to our official Discord if you have any issues or you'd like to know more, or maybe you'd like to share some builds with friends. And we hope you have a ton of fun with this, and we hope it's super useful for you on the field.